The Cultural Revolution was led by Mao Zedong in efforts to reform China into a communist country. With his Red Guard militia, he was able to use violence and intimidation to maintain reform in China. The Red Guard was specifically made up of students, high schoolers, and middle schoolers that believed in Mao's communist values. With that, they pledged themselves to destroy old Chinese traditions that included artifacts and portrait shrines, etc. One example can be found when the Red Guards would raid citizens' houses, burning all artifacts they deemed were old traditions, such as books, toys, clothing, etc. With that, during that time period, there was a large problem within the community. One being that rank. Often children at birth were labeled because of their parents' status and rank. Parents who were higher in rank within the government and party often had more opportunities, and with that their children had more opportunities and could get a better education compared to a child who had parents who were lower in rank. Parents who happened to be considered rightist often subjected their families to major turmoil. They often dealt with being condemned and bullied within the community because of their status as being a rightist. With that, it basically labeled them as not having any opportunities. A lot of them weren't able to continue their education or driven out of the local community because of the bullying and the condemnation that was put upon them as an individual. Everything had to do with rank and status, basically. A child was labeled at birth because of the parent's status. And if their parents did not have a good status, their life was basically judged before they even got to live. With that, the younger generation heavily influenced the Cultural Revolution, mainly because of propaganda. Propaganda was used to influence the younger generation to continue and join and put emphasis on the party and how ideal and great the cause was to be part of a communist country. They used, specifically propaganda, used catchy phrases and cartoons to emphasize important ideals of the communist. And with that, they also used those to slander ideals that were not considered communist. And because propaganda was heavily influenced, it often generated so many younger generations to want to be part of the party and to become part of the Red Guard. And without the propaganda that was used, there probably wouldn't be such a big there probably wouldn't be as big a problem than it was back then, because they wouldn't have so many young individuals or wanting to be part of it if it wasn't. It would probably be a lot less people being part of the party if there wasn't for the propaganda and the slander and the false preconceptions of what they put in as the ideals of communists. They often exaggerated, and people just bought because it was there, and other people it was basically a bandwagon. Once one person started doing it, everyone else started doing it. And the Cultural Revolution affected a lot of people within China. It was a lot of violence, turmoil, and sadness. And it's often forgot how bad people were affected from it. It's sad. And it's something that should never be forgotten, because even though it wasn't part of our history, it's a history that is just like Nazis, and for that, lives and traditional values should never be forgotten. It should always be remembered.